What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Channel. My name's AJ Gales. How y'all doing? It is time once more for the weekly show. Hopefully, it's going to go back to being a weekly show, and my procrastination and everything won't keep me away from this. Now, I've been just between work, now that apparently Indiana and a few other states, are starting to open up a little bit more. Now there's more casinos than just the one that I've been working at, which has been open for a while. So, hopefully, work will start to die down and kind of go back to some semblance of normal. As you can see by the title of the video, hopefully, we won't have constant, hey, Xbox event, PlayStation event, this event, that event, where I'm doing shit in the middle of the week and then I'm feeling like, well, what other big news is there to talk about here for the weekly show? And it's been a whole fucking thing. So hopefully we can go back down to, a normal schedule. And yes, we're going to be looking at articles and everything, by the way, as always, links in the description, timestamps, yada, yada. We will be looking at articles. I just have this screen up here, first, because I am going to kind of riff and talk a little bit. Just because I didn't want to spend like 30-40 minutes going through articles on, here's what happened with PlayStation pre-orders, here's what happened with Xbox pre-orders, just kind of give you guys my quick takes and all that stuff. We'll get into that in a second. I really don't, actually we might hop into it now. I don't think I have any other big announcements that I want to start off with. I might have some stuff, go over the new game schedule for October and everything at the end of the video. Yeah, I think that's about all the important new stuff, other than, just kind of I'm back. How's it going? As always, thank you for the patience, guys. I love y'all. You're the best. Yada, yada, yada. So moving on to the actual news. And first things first, it really looks like this round of the console war, it's finally ending. Xbox and PlayStation, we're stopping this whole will they, won't they bullshit. Both have come out. We have release dates. We have pricing. We have all that shit. Pre-orders. At least the first rounds of pre-orders are all, I guess, first and second if you're Sony, are all over and done with. Everyone's sold out. It's all good and whatnot. So yeah, it's nice that this is kind of dying down. Obviously the next round will be a few months after launch. And we can take a look at sales and everything. Which I think a lot of people are jumping the gun right now, trying to compare sales between Xbox and Sony. I'll get into that in a second. I'll try and do this in a semblance of a linear fashion. So to kind of start off with, I think Xbox, because I said this at the time, I think when Xbox came out, they had the $500 price point for the Series X, the $300 for the Series S. Granted, I have my issues with Series S, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but it's generally the same thing that I've always been saying about it. I think the pricing was a good strategy. It's a little surprising that they kind of just announced that shit out of nowhere, but they set their pre-order date. Here's when pre-orders start and all this shit. I think they handled everything well. PlayStation, I liked their reveal event. I not a fan of how they handled pre-orders. Because they handled pre-orders really poorly. But I will say, Xbox put pressure on PlayStation. Then I think PlayStation answered back perfectly, saying we're going to be $500, $400 if you buy the discless version or the digital version or whatever of the PS5. I've been hearing that there's some issues with that particular console, that people have gotten like early consoles or something. I don't know. It's just rumors I've been hearing. So take that for what you will. But either way, so, they come out with their pricing for their unit. They matched the Xbox Series X. I think that was a good move on PlayStation's part. I still think, that they have the advantage when it comes to games post-launch, and I think that's going to help them down the road. Even more than I think it's going to help them right now. I think right now their biggest help is their massive install base and saying, hey, look, how we dominated this last generation? We're going to keep doing it. So I really think that's PlayStation's biggest selling point. From everything I can see, it looks like developers are really happy with what PlayStation's doing, the tech on the PS5. Not saying there isn't that way on Xbox. And as always, if it's not obvious, I'm a PlayStation guy. This generation really converted me over from the 360 guy to a PlayStation guy. So, take my opinions for what you will. but yeah, I think right away, I think PlayStation answering back by matching price, I thought was a great idea, or it was the perfect time to do it. They didn't let things sit too long. They didn't make it look like they hesitated. They came out and answered back with a punch. I really liked it. And then there was the mess that was pre-orders, how it seemed like no retailer was ready for pre-orders. Amazon links weren't working. I mean, it was a pain in the ass just getting everything done. I was able to get my pre-order done through PlayStation itself, because I got one of the emails saying, hey, we're, because you could sign up through the PlayStation website to get a chance to pre-order from them at a certain time. They were doing some, a pre-order event. If you guys hadn't heard my story, I had a small panic attack, or massive panic attack, just trying to get that damn thing ordered. Just because I was, I was getting ready. It was I think noon my time was when the actual event started. I was sitting there ready. I was kind of in the pre-queue or whatever. I was watching the countdown. My computer crashes, because everything's done through a unique link or some shit like that. So, my computer crashes. Okay, this sucks. So I get everything rebooted. I'm still before pre-order time, and it won't let me into the event. It says, oh, your unique link is being used. And I'm like, no, it fucking isn't. And, I was freaking out. I couldn't get the damn thing to work. Eventually, I got the damn link to work later in the day. I was able to get a PlayStation pre-ordered. I can calm down. Supposedly, seeing that I'm a PS Plus member, I should be getting mine day one. Shipping might be a big question, not just because of the coronavirus shit, but just because Amazon has basically come out and basically said for both PlayStation and Xbox, if you've ordered through them, day one can't be guaranteed because of high volume, which makes sense. And on the PlayStation end, again, I'm not sure if they're shipping through another company. They're doing it themselves. I don't know how they're doing it, but again, I'll believe it when I see it, that it's coming to me on the 12th. So, I got that one pre-ordered, but it was a big pain in the ass. Everybody was coming out against PlayStation. PlayStation came out and apologized, which I think classy move on their part. Said that they were going to put out some more units on sale, and those quickly sold out as well. So, then the Xbox date rolls around, which I believe was the 22nd. And, again, another shit show. Because, I think it was a little better than the PlayStation one, because I think it didn't just drop on. Because I think the PlayStation one said it was going to be the day after their big reveal event, and then it ended up being that night, and everybody panicked and freaked out, and it was a big rush. With Xbox, it was still a rush, but we knew the time. But still, for me, because I got mine through Best Buy, it took me 3 or 4 hours to get mine pre-ordered because the Best Buy website kept crashing on me, and it kept saying, it kept emptying my cart. It was a big pain in the ass. I thought they were sold out for the longest time, but eventually I got mine bought and purchased. It was a big pain in the ass. But so yeah, That was my experience pre-ordering, which I guess could have been worse, but still was not a big, exciting moment in time. So, like I said, both sides, which I don't want to necessarily just blame Xbox and PlayStation. I think everything, some of it goes to the retailers as well, and mixed with just the difficulty of the high traffic and everything that some of these sites are saying with this stuff. But I still think it could have been handled a little better on everyone's part. So now kind of the last little bit of things, and it's like I said, everybody's, comparing sales right now, which I don't think is necessarily going to be indicative of anything. And the reason for that is we know that PlayStation is probably going to have stocking issues, at least early on in this generation. Because everybody's, because I think I saw some report, it was Xbox outsold PlayStation in Japan, and Sony's freaking out, which I personally take with a bit of a grain of salt, because Xbox is coming out with their sales numbers. That doesn't sound like them. But no, just because it also would make sense that I think Xbox would be able to outsell them, because from everything we've been able to tell from all this reporting for months, that Sony was having trouble getting parts, which was actually driving the question that what would the PlayStation 5 cost? Would it be $600-$700? So, there was that big question. And there's the question that the PS5 games are going to cost more. I think they're going to bump up to $70. I'm speaking US. I'm not sure what it is in your individual territory. Which personally, I understand people's frustration with, but I get it. So it is what it is. I'm not a big fan of it either, but you know, it's the cost of the industry. I mean, hell, I still remember back in the day where video games were $40, and that jump to 60 was a big freak out. But it is what it is. But no, we knew. So I don't know exactly like how many units PlayStation was actually able to get produced and everything. It's a whole thing. But from everything we've been able to tell, PlayStation sold out, Xbox is sold out, everybody's sold out. So really, if everybody's been able to sell out, and everybody looks to be starting off on the right foot for their individual starting point. Yes, Xbox does have a lead, but will that lead continue post-launch and everything? That's the big question. I still think Xbox has a big issue when it comes to marketing and everything. Because apparently I've been seeing people write articles that parents are getting confused for holiday shopping because, you have the Xbox Series... Oh, shit. Sorry, I bumped into my keyboard. You have the Xbox Series X. You have the Xbox Series S. You have the Xbox One X. You have... And yes, I understand they're all different models, but they all sound really similar. It's really fucking confusing, especially when the Series S is a halfway model, basically, as far as I can tell, from the Xbox One X and the Xbox Series X, and there's just so many... This is where PlayStation has the advantage there in just the fucking naming of your consoles. Going PlayStation, the PlayStation 2, 3, 4, and 5. But, I still remember when PlayStation 5, when it was going by its code name, everyone was like, oh, what's it going to be named? What's it going to be named? And I'm sitting there going, it's the PlayStation 5, you idiots. Stop trying to drum up a conversation. It's PlayStation 5. But no, it's, and I'm not calling you guys listening idiots. I'm talking to the journos out there. That's who I'm talking about. But no, like I said, I think Xbox kind of has a marketing kind of debacle going on right now because of the similar names of their products. I think there's going to be a stock issue between the Series S and the Series X. I guess you could say PlayStation is the same thing with the digital and the non-digital platform, but in that one, at least with the digital and the non-digital platform, you don't have to make a choice. How to put it? I can see what is it? Is somebody buying one without a disc drive as, well, it's not necessarily the one I wanted, but I can still get what I want minus one thing. Where the Series S and the Series X are, yeah, they're similar. They play the same stuff, but the Series X is the high tier next-gen console, because other than the disc drive, as far as I can tell, the digital version of the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 are the same console. They're the same. You get what I'm saying? They're both at the same level. It's not, here's the Series X, here's the Series S. So, with the PlayStation 5, you can obviously you're going to want to stock equal numbers, but you probably won't have an issue of one sitting, how to put it, you won't... And this is just me taking a shot in the dark and me making a guess here, because I've said this. With the Series X and the Series S, I think you have to worry about, does the Series X sell really well and you just have S's sitting in stock? Does the S sell really well and now you just have X's sitting in stock? And then you have the issue of, because how many are companies buying? How many are just sitting on shelves, not moving anywhere? Well, I think PlayStation has that small advantage of, yes, they're releasing two separate consoles, but they're still basically the same. They have the same guts, again, minus the disc drive. So I don't see the issue of having one or the other sitting on shelves and just taking up spaces in storerooms. Again, this is just a theory, just throwing out a possibility. But I did mention a marketing issue, and again, other than the name for the Xbox, I've not seen any marketing for. I mentioned the name thing, but I'm not seeing any marketing for the new Xbox. I've really not seen any Series X marketing or anything. If I wasn't following, gaming journos and all this shit on Twitter, I really wouldn't know much about the Xbox Series X because we don't hear anything about it. Like just sitting and watching TV. Because again, I'm standing at work. I always say this. I work at a casino. For those who don't know, I'm standing at a blackjack game. There's nobody playing, so I'm just sitting. We got TVs, above all the tables, so people can look up and watch, football or baseball or whatever's on. So I'm looking across the way at one of the other pits, and I'm watching commercials. I'm just killing time, waiting for my next break, and I'm noticing throughout the night, I'm seeing 3 or 4 PlayStation ads I'm not seeing crap for Xbox. And I mean, they're not like super, like, it's not like PlayStation. They're not individual games. It's mostly just PlayStation, the, place to play, or the state, whatever the hell their slogan is right now. I'm just seeing more of them. And yes, I get, I'm sure somebody would argue, oh, that's just Sony trying to be, oh, they're desperate. They're trying to, oh, please buy our console. Please buy our console. But I'm like, but that's the point of advertising. That's what advertising is. It's to get it in front of people, to make people look at your product and to purchase it. I'm not seeing any of that from Xbox. And maybe it's because Xbox does have an issue with not only the names, but then you have Game Pass, then you have xCloud within the world of Xbox, then you have like 9 different subscription services, because like I said, you have xCloud and you have Game Pass and you have Xbox Gold and you have this. It's really confusing. Yes, PlayStation has their own, but I really don't see but from everything I've seen with PlayStation, they don't market PlayStation Now or PlayStation TV or PlayStation whatever the fuck else PlayStation has. They don't market that stuff. They market the PlayStation. Xbox has kind of been in this weird place lately, because again, if you follow the news, you listen to Phil Spencer. He doesn't really talk about the Series X that much. He talks about xCloud. He talks about these streaming services. He talks about Game Pass, which they're trying to move into this subscription realm, sort of model that's just so kind of foreign to a lot of console people that I think outside of those, well, hell, I mean, I follow the news fairly regularly, and I still have trouble fully understanding Game Pass until somebody really explains it to me. I still think xCloud is just Stadia, but Microsoft's version, and I still think it's going to be just as dumb. I mean, in general, it's just Microsoft's taken this big shotgun approach to what they're trying to do with their console, what they're trying to do with their development studios. Because I saw some other article, I think it was a GameSpot article, because they usually pose a lot of interesting questions, and they asked, do you think Sony should acquire more first-party studios? And I was sitting there going, you know what? No, I think Sony has a very good quality over quantity approach to their internal development teams. Well, Xbox, I'm not saying there aren't quality studios within what Xbox has, but Xbox has gobbled up so many tiny studios that I think so many of them get lost in the shuffle. So many somewhat interesting projects just go by the wayside. I think so many things, it's like, ooh, here's the next big Xbox game that we keep hearing about, and it looks like something I'd buy for $30 on the store. Not saying that's not good. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was a game that I purchased for like $40 or however, I think it was $30 on PlayStation Store, just because I was hearing good things about it and absolutely loved it. So I'm not saying $30 games can't become something, but it's very rare that they are talked about like Hellblade. Like I think that's the point. I think Xbox is gobbling up all of these small studios, hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. But I think in a lot of ways, they're probably wasting money. They're wasting time. You can't really fully take the reins of that many studios without having to delegate too much. And then everybody's kind of running off in different directions. It's a little harder to right the ship. While PlayStation has a more core group of studios that they work with, and I think all those studios really pump out some really interesting things. Not saying it's always fantastic, looking at you, Naughty Dog, with Last of Us Part 2, but you know what? Sometimes you get stuff that you were never expecting. I still think that it was Sony Bend, right, who pumped out Days Gone, which I still think was a hidden gem of last year that I don't think got enough attention. So, we got Days Gone and Ghost of Tsushima over at Sucker Punch is just a really cool title. The stuff Insomniac's doing with Spider-Man. There's tons of, there's tons of great studios just within, that's under the Sony umbrella that I think really step up and make really big projects. So I do think that Sony has, again, another advantage. I don't think they should be taking that shotgun approach. But sorry, I tangented there. But Xbox seems to have the same shotgun approach, where it's not about the Series X, where PlayStation is, here's the PS5, here's the great games you can play on PS5, here's what we do, this is what we're and we're going to be fucking good at it. Xbox is like, well, we maybe can't be very good at at consoles, but maybe we can give you a subscription service that'll make up for that, and maybe we can do this, and maybe we can do that. Look, I like Game Pass. Okay, I can get where some people would like it. I just prefer to buy my games. I'm old school like that. Again, it's just like when everybody tried to sell me VR, this is gonna be the new thing. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna replace sitting down at my TV or my desk, or sitting down at your couch or whatever. You know, I don't want to have to like move my head around and look around and all that shit. I don't think it's going to replace just a simple controller experience, and it hasn't yet. And I was right. Just saying. But yeah, I just think Xbox is trying to do way too much. I think I stand by it every time I hear Phil Spencer talk about about xCloud and everything. I still think he sounds just like a big sore loser going, "Oh, we got spanked by Sony, so we're just gonna say that we're doing something different this time around." It's been a whole shit show with them, in my opinion. Yeah, end of the console round, I still think Sony's in a good place to take the lead. Come the time that the units are out in the wild, we get games and everything. Still. Who knows? I mean, I've been wrong before. Hell, I always bring this up. I was way off on the Nintendo Switch. I did not think this thing would be as cool as it is, and I absolutely love my Switch. But yeah, man, I think Sony's still primed to win. Yeah, that's my take. There's some of the stuff going on. If you have any thoughts on the console war, as always, hit me up in the comments. Holy shit, I took over 20 minutes talking about this. I actually meant to have this down to 5-10 minutes. Oops. All right, whatever. We'll move on to the articles, and yeah. Oh man, I was about to start I was about to start this, and then I read that, and that's funny. All right, to kick things off with some PlayStation news. Hogwarts Legacy is an open world RPG, will allow you to become the witch or wizard you want to be. Article Sammy Barker, Push Square. Look, this was my biggest question when we saw the reveal of Hogwarts Legacy. We've been hearing a lot about it for a long time, you know, just like little bits and bobs, but anything definitive. Look, now that we know that it is officially an RPG, we get to create our character. I get to run around Hogwarts and do my thing. I am fucking 100% on board with this game. It's really my biggest thing. I was talking with, who was it? I was talking with Brian Gade in another video, and we were talking about this game, and really, Harry Potter is not an IP that I really love, and it's like, ooh, I want to be in this world. But you know what? It's got to. Well, I don't want to say that's not true. It's. If I was playing with all the Harry Potter characters that we know, because this one is set as a prequel, it's set during the 1800s. We'll get into that as we read the article. But honestly, having it set before the films, letting it be its own thing, our plot's not revolving around the films, it's not revolving around the main cast. We get to actually kind of do our own thing. I'm actually way more on board with this, because I said this IP, it's not something that I absolutely love, but I am so hyped and on board for a Harry Potter RPG. I'll always say this. I absolutely loved Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on the PS2. So I'm really hoping it's something kind of like that, just its own thing. I think there's a lot of possibilities here, so I'm 100% on board with this. Let's actually read this article here. The article reads, Hogwarts Legacy, the new Harry Potter themed PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 game from Warner Brothers, was one of the standout announcements this week, but this article was from the 19th, by the way. But what kind of game is it? A press release confirms that it is an, quote, an open world single player action role playing game, end quote. Which will allow you to create your own personal witch or wizard and spec them exactly how you want them to be. And that is exactly what I wanted. I wanted a character creator that we got to be our own kind of like witch or wizard or whatever. But I also wanted to be able to be good at certain kinds of magic and maybe not at others. And just, I was really hoping for stuff like that. And like I can go and, if you guys know me, I love the school setting. I love it in anime and manga. I love it in video games. It's a really cool setting for character development. And being set in Hogwarts, it's like I said, we can have kind of like our base, like what kind of magic we're good at originally, and then we can go in and get better abilities and better spells and whatnot. I think that's such a cool idea. Oh, there's even companions. I'm sorry, we'll keep reading here. And I quote, players will experience life as a student of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry like never before, as they live the unwritten and embark on a dangerous journey to uncover a hidden truth about the wizarding world. The blurb explains, they will grow their characters' abilities as a master powerful spells, hone combat skills, and select companions to help them face off against deadly enemies. Players will also encounter missions and scenarios that will pose difficult choices and determine what they stand for. End quote. See, I'm kind of hoping it takes place over multiple years at Hogwarts, so we kind of like get to decide because I mentioned this when we saw the trailer, that we actually get to decide what house we are. It doesn't just shove us into to Gryffindor. That we actually get to pick one of our house. We get to pick our house, and we get to. So it kind of decides like what kind of characters that we're surrounded with, and it's like it said. We get to make choices that typical RPG stuff. But I really like it set in this world. I'm keep saying this. I'm so on board here. The title's set during the 1800s and thus precedes many of the events of J.K. Rowling's novels. However, the lore is consistent with the books, so you will stumble upon the Forbidden Forest in the nearby village of Hogsmeade. And I quote, this is a labor of love, and the real magic comes from the dedication and imagination of the team who wants nothing less than to make an authentic and compelling Wizarding World game, end quote. Head of story Adrian Ropp explained on the PlayStation blog. He continued, and I quote, with innovation, high-definition graphics, a player can practically feel the terror of Inferi, bearing down upon them, sense the ground rumbling beneath them as a herd of angry centaurs surround them. Even dueling against a deadly dark witch takes on a new level of realism, thanks to the controller's ability to imbue sound and touch into every moment, end quote. It all sounds superb, doesn't it? Blah, 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 the general ending article stuff. No, I'm not sure how many more times I'm gonna have to say it. I'm 100% on board, and I think the game looks dope. More on the PlayStation front here. Final Fantasy 16 coming sooner than people think, reportedly in development for at least 4 years, article Robert Ramsey. This is also of Push Square. I think all but one of the articles we're looking at today is Push Square. No, I really like that. I saw Final Fantasy 16 at the PlayStation event, and honestly, for a little bit, I wasn't thinking it was. When I saw the summons, I knew it was going to be Final Fantasy, but the aesthetic, there we go, looks very different from what we've seen from Final Fantasy as of late. It looks more like a fantasy title. Final Fantasy, for the last ones I've played. Everything's still kind of been technologically advanced in a way. Like in 15, we drove the car. There was all, like train systems and all this shit that was in 13 that I barely remember because I hated the crap out of that game. 12, it was still a little more fantasy-esque, but there was still there was still a level of technology that it seemed futuristic in a way. Really, I guess all Final Fantasies do have that style of it's fantasy. It's genred as fantasy, but in a weird way, it's futuristic. But this one looked very much strictly fantasy, which I thought was really cool. It definitely caught my eye, so to speak. The article reads, Final Fantasy 16 has been in development for, quote, at least 4 years in some capacity, end quote, according to industry journalist Jason Schreier. Speaking on the latest Triple Click podcast, Schreier credits sources who are apparently familiar with the game's production. Look, Schreier is one guy that I usually, that I take pretty seriously when he says, hey, look, I've been told by insiders that this is happening. I take it as pretty. I don't want to say gospel, but generally with people, I always say, look, I'll believe it when I see it from the company, but it's an interesting rumor. When Jason Schreier is saying it, I will add a little bit more weight to it, because I think he's right way more often than he's wrong, and I can't think of an instance where he's been 100% wrong. At the least, I can't even think of a situation where you could consider what he's gotten wrong. I think he's just got a lot of sources out there in the industry, but it's beside the point. So, like I said, like I'm trying to get at here, I think it's worth taking note what he's saying. And yes, this does mean that Final Fantasy XVI is closer than people think. Square Enix has, over recent years, developed a bad habit of announcing announcing some of its games far too early, but it sounds like it won't be long until we're playing the next Final Fantasy on PlayStation 5. Indeed, what shocked us most about the Final Fantasy 16 trailer, was that it looks like an actual game, not just some kind of barely formed project that hasn't even entered full production yet. The suggestion is that it's actually quite far along. Still, we're going to have to wait a little bit more to hear more. Square Enix has stated the next Final Fantasy 16 information dump will happen in 2021. When the game will come out, 2022 would be my guess. If at earliest holiday of 2021, but I think it's going to hit early year of 2022. Which, again, it was just such a weird thing. Because I still remember back in the day when the big time to release games was at the end of the year. Now it's that early, those early first 3 or 4 months, that started all the way back. I think with the original Dying Light. I think that was one of the first big games. I think that one dropped back in February of... God damn it, when did that game come out? The original Dying Light, when that game dropped, it dropped in February. I think that was one of the first big years that early part of the year. Because, that one kind of like started... It was that game, and then there were a few other really cool gems at the beginning of that year. From what I remember, don't ask me to name them because I can't fully remember, but I remember that of that year, if that makes sense. That was a big thing. So I really do think that this game is probably going to hit the early part of 2022. Hey, you remember when I mentioned Dying Light? Well, don't worry, Dying Light 2 is still in active development. Article Liam Croft, Push Square. That was actually an unintended transition. I just noticed myself going, hey, wait a minute, I just mentioned Dying Light, and I have a Dying Light article coming up. So I thought, hey, let's quickly end that last segment and move into this one because I thought it kind of worked. I've been wondering for a long time what the hell has been going on with this sequel because we've seen gameplay of it and it looked really cool. I was actually I was totally on board with Dying Light 2, and it seemed like it just kind of fell off a cliff. So apparently it's still under development. So at least it's not been scrapped, so to speak. It's been quite a while since we last heard anything concrete about Dying Light 2, hasn't it? Did I mention who this article was by? Liam Croft, by the way, Push Square. I always like to credit the articles I read. The sequel was delayed indefinitely at the very start of this year, before even the coronavirus pandemic took hold, and since then we haven't had any new gameplay or even a new piece of information. Rumors of problems in the workspace and a Microsoft acquisition did the rounds back in May, but these were very quickly shot down, and so 9 months after the initial delay, it's understandable to question what exactly is going on with the project. While we don't have any new information on the title itself to share, it has been confirmed to us that Dying Light 2 is still very much in development and working towards a new internal schedule. We reached out to Techland with Ola Sondej. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'm taking a shot. Senior PR manager at the company, stating that, quote, the Dying Light 2 development is moving forward according to our internal schedule. We revised at the beginning of the year, end quote, following the pushback at the beginning of 2020 out of a spring release window. Many assumed that this was because the developer wanted to launch alongside the PlayStation 5. However, less than 2 months away from the next-gen console's release, that appears to be very much not the case. This is now shaping up to be a 2021 title that will surely lead with the PS5. A version for Japanese Giant's next-gen system has been confirmed. After all, blah, blah, blah. Are you still excited for Dying Light 2? Yes, obviously I am still excited for the game. And look, if you're wondering why it's mentioning PlayStation and not Xbox, as I always say, I read a lot of Push Square because I like their reporting. It's pithy, it's to the point. It kind of, for these kind of articles, it just kind of helps us move along at a pace, and I don't get bogged down. That's why I like reading their stuff. But Push Square is a PlayStation-focused website, so that's the basic idea of why it focuses on the PS5 and whatnot. Yeah, I think that's all I got for this one. Next article, we're going to be talking about one of the big games that we will... Actually, I think it's the next big game that we're going to be starting on the channel, and it will actually be next week, I think. Article Liana Rupert, Baldur's Gate 3 romance and companion video dives deep into in-game relationships. Article Game Informer. If you're wondering why the hell am I talking about this, because I love RPG banging. I love romance and all that stuff within my RPGs. It's one of my favorite things in BioWare games. And honestly, the stuff that Larian does reminds me a lot of what BioWare did, especially in just the way that they build their unique characters. Sorry if I seem a little distracted here. The dog's barking in the background. I don't know what the hell's going on out there. What was I thinking? Oh, right, Larian. Yeah, Larian. I could see where some people would tell me, AJ, come on, brain. Divinity Original Sin 2. There we go. It's nothing like a BioWare game. True. I mean, there's still RPGs. I see some similar roots. If I think that's basically what I'm trying to get at. I almost see like Divinity as if like Dragon Age was approached from a different direction, but that's just me. But Larian heading up Baldur's Gate 3, I'm definitely excited for the game. Like I said, we will be playing that. I think it's next week. It comes out onto early access on Steam. I think it's on the 6th is when I'm planning on playing it. So just a little heads up to y'all. I haven't really talked a lot about the game, but I am preparing to play it. Let's see here. Earlier today, Larian Studios confirmed that there was a small 1-week delay with Baldur's Gate early access. There we go. Okay, I was thinking the game was supposed to come out on the 30th, and then I must have missed that news that the game got delayed. The company softened the not so devastating blow by promising news about romance and companions. Well, buckle up, friends, because we're talking Warlock booty. The team took to the game's Steam blog to deliver a very important companion news because it's 2020 and we are going to take any shred of happiness we can get in the latest blog post. I don't know. I'm having a pretty decent 2020. I don't know about the rest of you. Mine's not been too bad. Larian talks about the companionship that will be found in the upcoming game, a gameplay feature that is very common in RPG adventures. Just like many other games of the same caliber, Baldur's Gate 3 will have companions that will look like some of the things you do disagree, or that will like some of the things you do disagree with others, and some will just really seem to dog on everything you do. Still, we do what we can for that digital tush. All right. So the latest video about love in the Forgotten Realms digs a little deeper into building those meaningful in-game relationships. Hot elf chick. I am on board. Baldur's Gate 3 lead writer Sarah Bayless mentions in the above video, and I quote, "At the end of the day, this remains a D&D game, and the most important character in a game of D&D is you." End quote. Just like in a real-life game, in-game players will be able to forge friendships, earn enemies, and romance the heck out of some pretty spiffy hotties. God damn it! I like the writing style. Sometimes it feels like it's a little too much. Each companion is wildly different from one another, and each companion requires something unique in order to woo them like none other. With Baldur's Gate 3 reactive system, players can choose certain choices and dialogue options that will craft those relationships for good or for ill. Like other similar games, including Dragon Age from BioWare, there we go, and Larian's other major franchise with the Divinity Original Sin 2, or Divinity Original Sin, let me rephrase, your character's choices will impact options, including how companions interact with you. The example the studio gives is that if a player chooses to play as a drow wizard, then they will have different dialogue options with other characters than that of a Githyanki warlock. Hopefully I was correct on that one. Those differences are seen everywhere in the game, including when talking to your potential love interest. And I quote, "Just as in real life, the sum of a character is determined by many factors and continues to be shaped by your actions and reactions to the world and the party you journey with," end quote, reads the blog post. I always do that, and I quote again, "Frictions may test the party's resolve, and romances might test the party dynamic. Not only will characters have opinions about you, but also about each other and other factions in the game. Will you pursue love with one companion to the detriment of another, or will you side with a faction a companion detests, putting feelings to the side to achieve your strategic goals? As with life, many decisions will have to be made, not all of them easy, and not every outcome obvious." See, end quote, by the way. I like that idea. I'm really hoping that we do see a lot more interaction, not only between the characters, but also the characters in the world themselves. It's something that we see a lot in Mass Effect and in Dragon Age, where yeah, characters are going to have opinions on who you hang out with, like who you side with in certain sections of the game. I mean, that's just the typical way that that style of game works. But sometimes characters will leave to never return. But how to put it? It seems like, I'm trying to think how to put this. To me, it almost seems like that every character interaction you're having isn't as a part of a group. It's only individual. Like in Mass Effect. When you're talking to the individual members of your ship and everything. It's, granted, who gets along, who doesn't, all that stuff. But it always, to me, seems like it's my interactions with this character has nothing to do with any of the other characters. While in this game, it looks like it's going to be a little bit more, just because if I'm chatting up this chick, maybe this girl's mad. Or if I'm chatting up this dude, this chick or this dude is mad. Or, whatever, however they're relationships kind of intertwine in a big spider web. And similar thing with outside factions compared to your party. I really hope that they go that route, that it is a little bit more complex. It is a bit more like a spider web instead of just your typical I might be making a really poor analogy. Your typical kind of like dating sim game raising flags just to get the booty. I don't feel, if you couldn't tell by the stutter there, that was an uncomfortable stutter because I never say that, and that just I usually say it just in my own crass way, but that way just didn't feel right. Ugh. Let's see here. The team also talks about the in-game campfires. Dragon Age Origins players will remember this fondly. Characters can rest by a campfire at night, but this is also where the party is most vulnerable, disarmed, weary, and reliant on those around you. This is where a lot of the magic happens when furthering those relationships. Through creative writing, players can get a feel for their companions by talking to them while resting at their campfire. The choices you've made thus far into the game will impact how closely you can get acquainted with the various party members. This is also a good time to remind readers that this is very much an M-rated game for mature, so just brace for those. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Want to get jiggy with it. Baldur's Gate Early Access kicks off October 6th. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in the game. Sadly, it's another giant RPG that I'm going to sink into, where I've already got Wasteland 3, Cyberpunk coming up. I've got other games that I've started and need to get back into. It's a whole thing. I know. I've done this to myself, and I really need to buckle down and get some shit done. I promise I am working on that, but that's its own thing. I think what we have next is rumor stuff. First rumor up, apparently Metal Gear Solid is getting a full remake, and it's a PS5 console exclusive. This is an article on Push Square by Robert Ramsey. Here's a doozy of a rumor for you. Metal Gear Solid, the PS1 classic, is being remade again, and it's coming to PS5 and PC. This is according to YouTube channel Red Gaming Tech, which has been known to, has been known to provide some accurate links in the past, although they specialize in hardware information rather than software. Still, according to their source, a source that apparently has a 100% that's written oddly, but whatever, track record up to this point. Excuse me, geez. Of course, I turned my mic back on and I started getting the hiccups. This supposed Metal Gear Solid revival is a full remake and not just some kind of port or remaster. I'm all on board with this, just because I really want to see where Metal Gear Solid started, but it's just my big thing is I just cannot play those early PS1 games. I know they're classics, I know yada yada yada, and there are people who are going to tell me, oh my gosh, how dare you need to go back and play them. You need to have this respect for the old games. I'm like, I respect them and how they've brought us to where we are. It's just they are not. It's that fixed camera perspective thing. Just I cannot do it. So I'm all board. I'm all on board for a full-blown remake here. Just don't do what Final Fantasy VII is doing and do it in like 8 parts. Just saying. The source also states that Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4 are all being re-released, but it sounds like they're set to be remasters rather than full remakes. It's unclear whether they're coming to PS5 as well, or whether they're just targeting PC. I'm going to guess they're going to be PS5 as well. I've seen gameplay of 4. 4 looks absolutely just really... It looks really cool. And, I know that it's the conclusion of this epic story. Snake Eater is... I've seen full LPs of that one. Absolutely phenomenal game. That stupid ladder section. But yeah, I really like 3 as well. It's 1 and 2 that I don't have the fullest knowledge on, now that I think about it. I'm trying to remember. 2 was the one with Raiden. Isn't that what it is? And didn't the demo for 2 really mislead people because it was because the demo was the first bit where you play as Snake, and then the rest of the game you're playing as a different character? Isn't that the whole thing? We don't know how far into development the Metal Gear Solid remake is, but its rumored existence does tie into reports that we've heard elsewhere. For starters, we know that Sony has been flashing its card to third-party publishers in order to lock down exclusive PS5 deals. Final Fantasy 16 is a perfect example of this, a remake of Metal Gear Solid, arguably the most beloved installment in the series, synonymous with PlayStation. Certainly fits the bill when you consider that Sony dished out Serious Dosh. Is that money? That's English slang, is it not? For timed exclusivity on a very similar project, namely Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah, we can talk about that later. But is Konami really going to pump money into crafting a full-blown remake of Metal Gear Solid? Without a doubt, stranger things have happened, but the Japanese publisher is something of an enigma these days, which makes it an easy starting point for all kinds of rumors. Remember Silent Hills on PS5? Heck, maybe that's happening as well, and Konami's really getting back into the swing of things. That is very questionable, because I just actually thought about this. If they remaster can they really truly remaster Metal Gear Solid without Hideo? Well, without Kojima, can they truly remaster the game? Because I think they're gonna. I think they could remaster it and make it a third-person shooter stealth action game, and I think it'll disappoint a lot of people. I really do. I think like Final Fantasy VII, I think it'll grab a lot of people because it's a beautiful remake of a classic game. But I don't think. But I think without the soul and the mind behind Metal Gear Solid, I don't think it's actually going to make people happy. Which I think a lot of people are looking at who have played the Final Fantasy VII remake, kind of like me, have kind of gone, it was okay. But it just there were a lot of issues with that with the 7 remake. My biggest problem is the fact that you're splitting it up into 8 parts. I get it. You want to elongate certain sections. There are ways to do it without making it feel like this is just an extended opening. Just so much of that game felt like fucking filler. But that's beside the point. That's a different discussion. But what they're doing here with Metal Gear Solid 5, or with the Metal Gear Solid remake, and again, this is supposing this rumor is accurate. I actually don't think it'll do as well without Hideo behind it, and I see no way in hell that Kojima and Konami ever work together again. No way in hell that ever happens. Moving on to another rumor that has just been floating around pretty much all year, and that is this Mass Effect Trilogy remaster that we have all been waiting for, is apparently now planned for early 2021. This is an article by Liam Croft, and once again, rumor. The long-rumored Mass Effect Trilogy remaster is once again back in the news, and this latest slice of information appears to have both a positive and negative takeaway. What is now being dubbed Mass Effect Legendary Edition, this collection of the original trilogy titles has now apparently been pushed back internally to early 2021. VentureBeat writer Jeff Grubb, who has been the main source of Mass Effect related news for a while now, claims this is because the first game is currently able to match the quality of the rest of the project, or isn't currently able to match the rest of the project. That kind of makes sense, because between 2 and 3, I think 2 and 3 are way more similar than 1 is to either 2 or 3, because 1... I've said this in the past. I think 3 was the best combination of factors in the Mass Effect franchise. I think it was the best RPG and shooter. The original Mass Effect game was the best RPG, and Mass Effect 2 was the best shooter. Although I would argue Mass Effect 2 was the best game in the franchise, and I think that A has to do with the the ending of 3 being such a cluster. I always described the ending to 3 might suck, but the ride down is super fun. But the other thing is because, yes, Mass Effect 2, I've always described it, when it's an RPG, it's an RPG. When it's a shooter, it's a shooter. Like, there's load screens in between them, when you're doing one or the other. Sometimes they overlap, but for the most part, they're separate things. And I thought 2 was just all around the best game. It wasn't the most smooth experience like 3 was, but I thought it was still the best of the franchise. But again, that's just me. Sadly, Andromeda was the worst, and that I still say that game had potential, but that's beside the point. Where the hell were we? Grubb says it might disappoint fans in its current shape, relating to both visuals and gameplay. Therefore, those working on the project want to do right by the fans, and since they understand the issues they face, wish to delay the title to ensure a quality product upon release. I honestly, I think some of what made Mass Effect 1 so fun was its kind of jankiness. Because I've gone back and played it on my 360. It is really rough sometimes, but I kind of like it in its own weird way. Again, that might just be me. Let's see here. The VentureBeat report continues stating that Mass Effect 3 will not include its multiplayer modes. Good. But all 3 games will include all the downloadable content available. Also good. Like that weird Citadel DLC for 3. That's certainly a relief, but the article is probably a pretty good indicator as to why EA still hasn't actually announced the Remaster Collection just yet. It wants to make a good impression after the disappointing Mass Effect Andromeda, and putting out a lackluster effort could well be the final nail in the coffin for the franchise. That doesn't seem to be what's happening here, however, which I know it's surprising. EA is apparently, or reportedly, rumoredly, whatever, not including a multiplayer. Holy shit. But no, I really do think this is real. Look, how long have fans been screaming for a Mass Effect trilogy? I think this is BioWare able to show that Mass Effect still has goodwill with the fans. It still has some faith even after Andromeda, which I still stand by it. Andromeda was not a bad game. It had its problems, most definitely. I'd say it's a 7, which on my scale, by the way, before anybody's like, a 7, that's being overly generous. Again, 7 on my scale is average. That's good. I know that should technically be 5, but for me, 7 it's good. It's fine. It's okay. And that's what I put Andromeda at. Yes, even with all the, the bugs and everything, I still think that game is okay. I think they tried to do something with that. I think they tried to make it, I don't know. I would have preferred a class system. The way leveling up your skills just didn't feel right. The shooting didn't feel right. It could have been way better. It wasn't awful, but it could have been way better. Even as it's one of those things. As a game, I think it was okay. As a Mass Effect game, it sucked. I think that's the best way to put it. So that's just me. I really think Mass Effect, this trilogy remaster, is gonna happen. And if it doesn't, I think a lot of people are gonna be really pissed off. But that's just me. All right, guys, we got one more thing. It is a viewer requested video, and we will hop into that in just a second. All right, final thing for this video, we're going to be taking a look at WWE 2K Battlegrounds Game Modes trailer. This was suggested to me. He used to be Akita Touchdown. Now I think it's Ronin Hustler. If I'm incorrect on that, I apologize. Dude, if you want to, by the way, go into the comments of this one, post... sorry, excuse me, clear my throat, and that was louder than I thought. Dude, you want to go down, you want to post a link of, like, hey, find me here or whatever. Feel free to do that, by the way. Good for the channel, I always say. And he told me about this game, when it first got announced, and I saw it, and I'm just like, yeah, it looks like WWE All-Stars, I think is what it was called, or it was WWE, it was something like that. It was cartoonish and bullcrap, the original game, and it had no appeal to me. Battlegrounds did. And then, the trailers look goofy and cute. It looks like it has a bigger roster, but it still doesn't look like it was doing anything for me. And then he was telling me in comments, he's like, dude, really, you got to check this out. It's actually pretty cool. He's telling me about the story mode, which I didn't know it had, a few other things. And the more I look into it, the more I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually pretty cool. This is one of those. It's kind of like I have a running list just in a notebook here in my office of games that I'd probably play on the channel if I can get some other stuff done quickly, which may or may not happen. But this is kind of on that list because it's definitely kind of caught my interest. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm at the end of doing this and I'm getting really hungry, so I sound dumber than usual. Let's just hop into this trailer, see what there is to see. As always, I've not seen anything, yada, yada, yada.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman.
Please tell me you're in the game as well, Paul.
WWE advocate of all time. Today, I'm here to tell you the story of WWE 2K Battlegrounds. And God damn it, I love you, Edge. It's Paul Heyman and all that. I love Paul Heyman. I get it. He's the Brock Lesnar guy, but God damn it, he was also big in CM Punk's career. Can we use this to bridge some of that gap? Put CM Punk in this game, please. All new, over-the-top arcade game featuring over 70 WWE superstars and legends.
Like I said earlier, I do have to give them some massive credit for having the larger, having the larger roster. I think that was a big detriment to the. I'm gonna say WWE All Stars. I think that's the name of it. I think the bigger roster is definitely gonna help it. I still wish that 2K would just dust themselves off of last year's disappointing feature and just do another simulation game. But, whatever.
Game modes are exploding with unprecedented action. But the campaign mode, featuring your humble advocate...
Oh, there we go.
...is like nothing you've ever experienced before. It all starts with me selling the idea of a new brand to WWE Chairman Vincent Kennedy McMahon. In this game mode, you will play as the rookies and win matches to unlock custom characters and outlandish interactive environments.
Okay.
Behold Battleground Challenge Mode, where you too can create and customize your very own WWE superstar. Meet my newest creation. Client. The Captain. He's ready to decimate all 100 challenges and unlock loads of in-game currency, playable characters, and vanity items. To earn the big bucks, online tournaments are where it's at. My client is gonna make a boatload. Behold the holy grail of matches, king of the battleground. The captain will take out loser after loser until the crown sits on his untouchable head. Multiplayer mode is where things really start to heat up. We're talking unrestrained, unhinged, in-your-face pandemonium online or on the couch with your friends. Now, ladies and gentlemen, story time with Paul Heyman is almost over. But the party's just getting started in WWE 2K Battlegrounds. Do you have what it takes to handle the madness, the moves, the mayhem? You can brawl with friends. You can brawl with family. You can brawl with the most celebrated and feared WWE superstars and legends to ever hit the ring. Pre-order today and get ready to brawl without limits.
Now, clearly that, also, God damn it, I love you, Edge. What was I saying? Obviously, this game is already out now, seeing that it came out on the 18th, and we're hearing more about it. Yeah, the more I've looked into it, the more interested I've become in this game. I like the idea of the story mode. I mean, I can totally see where some people would get a kick out of the customization and the online modes and everything. It's not for me just because of the way I am. If you guys know, you've listened to me talk long enough, I think you guys understand that I'm just not a big multiplayer guy. I'll dink around in multiplayer modes every so often, but for the most part, I'm a single guy. I'm a single player guy, just through and through. And yeah, I honestly, I have a little bit more of an appreciation for this game than I think I did originally. So. Yeah, I think that's it for the show, guys. Thanks for watching. I did say I would go over my schedule for October. Let me double check my calendar. Okay, sorry, I was just confirming dates of when stuff comes out. We have 3 games planned for the month of October. On the 6th, we've already talked about it in the show, Baldur's Gate 3. That will be starting on the 29th, will be Watch Dogs Legion. So yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that one. Just that game I've had a really big curiosity with. I'm just so curious if that game will work. But here's hoping. I really hope for a good game there. And finally, will be Supermassive's next game in the Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan, or not Man of Medan, Little Hope. That's what it is. I believe that is it's the day after Watch Dogs Legion. It's on the 30th is when Little Hope comes out. So, yeah, come by, check out the channel for all those stuff. Come back next week. Hopefully I can get this done Sunday or Monday when I usually try to do this show. Again, it was work schedule, how shit broke down this week of why it's on Tuesday, but that's its own thing. Yeah, so drop by again next week for news. As always, Let's Plays will be going up. I always try and at least have something up for you guys daily. There are days that it doesn't happen, but again, work stuff. So thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, links to all the stuff is in the description. It's been a while since I closed this out, so I just cannot get myself to just end this video. Thanks for watching. Social media in the description. Like, comment, not already, please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned more next time. Until then, my name's AJ Gills, the Something Game channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm out.